Hello everyone and welcome to Chaotic Neutral Games and our current D&D 5th edition campaign, The Benefactor. I'm Simon Canty, your host and DM, and I have with me Nick, Felicia, Kate, Rodrigo and Corinne, our players. First of all, we've got some announcements. Let me just get this off studio mode here so I can see everybody. The first is that we have a friend from Twitter, well, a new friend from Twitter, who made some art of one of our characters, Eclipse of the Moon. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. So this is art that's done by, let me bring it up here, Lucky Komenu. I'm afraid I don't know the pronunciation, but please follow this guy on Twitter. Corinne found that he was trying to do a recent portfolio of people's original content and was asking for reference art. And of course, he saw Michelle, Feline Trickster's art of Eclipse and decided to do his own take on it. And I couldn't be more pleased. It's fantastic. I've actually thrown some ideas his way, and I'm hoping that if he does watch this stream, he has been interested in potentially doing one of the NPCs, and that'd be fantastic. And it'd be great to signal boost him and have a piece of his art as an ongoing part of the stream. Other than that,
I was gonna say, so Lucky Coin is the art of his. Rattle Cat is the personal Twitter where he's a lot more active.
Okay, so Rattlecat, that's Rattlecat. I think the two are connected, so if you go to one Twitter, you will be able to go to the other. So, second announcement, apologies for us being on here late. My laptop unfortunately ended up having compulsory updates, and then it decided it didn't like the updates and had to roll back the updates, and then so we're late, but we will get into it as soon as possible. Let me just pop these off. And
Chad is saying that Eclipse is very quiet.
I can, no problem. I can boost.
I can sort someone. I can sort that out.
Okay, right, sure. So, previously on the Benefactor, the party was sent to a mission to intimidate a scandalous and scamming enchanter by the name of Zev.
And everything went very, very well.
Everything did go very, very well. You're all alive. You're all well. You completed the mission. On the way out of Ostergard to this, previously abandoned border fort that Zev the enchanter had made with his family, his home, Eclipse of the Moon was approached by another bounty hunter and was told that there was a bounty on the head of Zev the Enchanter, although it wasn't to kill him, but to teach him a bit of a lesson. The lesson in this case was make him fear for his life if he carries on his particular scamming ways, and to take a memento, just a little bit of casual mutilation. Eclipse took this on with great zeal, and they went off to visit Zev the Enchanter.
Very important thing. I asked for permission from Minata Green before we went.
Yes, you did, and you're very glad that you did. So they went out in one of Renata's carriages with one of her drivers to this border fort, which only took a few hours. I mean, it is in the local area after all. And they went and met with Zev. Glory stepped forward and, drawing on her experience from her homeland in Skalra and being part of the noble family there, she went up to the fort and said that she was interested in taking some of Zev's trade. The guard, suddenly believing that Glory was high nobility, or at least a significant amount of money, showed her inside with all the airs and graces. After that, she started talking about needing the hammer that they were told to get from Renata herself. So the original contract was to recover a hammer that very specifically is enchanted to be able to easily shape mithril, a very difficult substance to work with. She pointed out, this is Glory, pointed out that her mother uses mithril for jewelry. Zev was apologetic and said that the hammer that he does have is for larger items, but if she's interested, he's interested in selling. Thankfully, a decent set of deception rolls meant that he didn't smell a rat. They sat down at the table and started their negotiations, at which point Aiden pulled out his Renata Green symbol, which, to remind the viewers, is a symbol of the silhouette of a winged serpent on a green background. So a black silhouette of a winged serpent on a green background, which I at some point need to draw for you guys. The effect was immediate. Aiden pulled it out and delivered a line which was very kind of Hawaii Five-0. And Zev immediately went on the defensive. And unfortunately, because he didn't keep his cool, it went straight into combat. During the combat, one of the two guards that Zev had, which I think his name was Ben or something, ended up dying, as did his two siblings, his sister Naira and his brother Daro. Turns out that Zev is touched by the plane of elemental air and is very capable of throwing out lightning bolts and so forth. And in his rage at seeing his siblings killed, not that he cared that much for them, he let loose a lightning bolt that hit Glory and reduced her to 0 hit points. Thankfully, nearby she had Farewell to bring her back to life. It wasn't completely undeserved, in that Glory did spend a large amount of the time incinerating and melting with acid many of the people in the building.
Excuse me, they attacked me first. Us first, kind of.
I'm sure it will hold up in a court of law. The situation was eventually resolved. A beaten and bruised Zev was allowed to leave after Eclipse jumped on him and took her token at the tip of one of his fingers. And he was allowed to pick up some of the belongings that he had, and he was allowed to hit the road, as was the second human guard, Eric, who was intimidated by Aiden into making a good life choice for himself and running. We now rejoin the characters as they get back into the carriage, and they're taking the 3-hour ride back towards Ostergard, back to the city. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Before we get started, I'm going to embarrass her on stream because I embarrassed her earlier. It's Kate's birthday today. So for everybody in chat, should wish her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Kate.
Go give her a follow on Twitter and on Twitch as well.
Yes.
Be a good birthday present.
Thank you.
Also, we should bring to attention that it's a Swedish holiday today. It's Lucia, which is a holiday where children dress up in certain outfits and go around and sing Christmas carols, but mostly carols that are related to this holiday.
Okay.
Yes, that is today.
Yeah.
Oh.
AKA another reason to wear the Santa hat today, as that is one of
Exactly.
the
That's
simple
why me and
Santa
Lisa
hats.
are wearing the Santa hats.
Okay. I was hoping that you were going to say that kids went out and wrestled moose or something. I was, yeah.
I would love
That's
that.
next week.
That's next week. Oh, right, I see, okay.
And it's reindeer this time of year, not mooses. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
There we go, see, I'm an uncultured swine. But happy birthday, Kate, and as Nick said in amongst the wishing a happy birthday, if you don't follow Kate already, she streams a lot more than we do. We only stream on, Thursday nights when Microsoft allows, and you'll see Kate starting to stream VR, which I'm looking forward to watching. I haven't had the chance to myself with all the chaos of arranging things around Christmas. So let's get into the story. You guys have managed to bury the dead, which Farewell took great care over, and Cora took the time to help him out. Iden went back into the carriage, cracked open a bottle of wine, and started to partake. Eclipse and Glory went back into the carriage as well, and waited for Farewell and Cora to finish what they were doing. Farewell and Cora, you return back to the carriage. Stuart, who is the driver, says, "Will that be everything?"
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good to go, guys. Are we good to go?
Oh yeah.
I would say so, yes.
Fantastic. Well, okay. I must admit, you guys were fast. That didn't take long at all. I mean, the way that you managed to talk your way into it and all the rest of it, you just walked in through the front door. I half expected you to go in kind of, there's a new phrase, guns blazing. I don't trust them guns myself. But yeah, so, yeah, I'm quite impressed. I must admit, I've taken a few of Renata's lot out to various things, and well, not all of them have got what I'd call subtlety. So anyway, pop yourself inside, and off we go.
Eclipse, have you still got the hammer and the hat?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay.
The hat
That's
is
all we
currently
needed,
a
right?
Santa hat.
Well, I'm currently wearing the hat, but the hat is disguised as not a hat because it was really ugly.
It's a Santa hat. It's a cat in a Santa hat, everyone.
Okay, yes, it can be a Santa hat. I can be wearing a Santa hat.
You end up going back the same route as you did before, and the same monotony starts to hit. Field, cabbage, cauliflower, cabbage. And presumably you guys have the opportunity to chat amongst yourselves if you wish.
Also, just one small detail. At one point, I take a swig from a wine bottle, and then I find out there's nothing. So I just open the bag of holding, and I just literally just let the bottle drop into the bag of holding.
There's no sound. It does just disappear.
Yep. No
Okay.
alcohol left.
How is everybody feeling?
Well, a little disappointed, I must admit. I would have preferred taking his eyes.
That wasn't really necessary.
No, but I didn't like the way he looked at me.
I know I'm the one speaking here as to someone who just took his finger. I think there's a difference in between taking someone's eyes and someone's finger, especially if it's just a tiny part of the finger.
You need a spoon for one thing. So, yeah.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
Scouring politics showing through Glory there.
How are you doing, Aiden?
I'm half asleep.
Does he seem drunk? Does Aiden seem drunk?
Iden, strangely, yeah. I mean, you would think with the bottle that he's just dropped into the bag that he would be a little inebriated. Iden, how are you doing?
I mean, I want to say I don't know, I've never thought of actually I'm going to do a constitution throw just to see if I'm drunk or not.
With advantage.
Okay then. Watch it be all ones.
Oh, if you do 2 nat ones, I will be so impressed.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not drunk. That would be Yeah, that would be a 20 total.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not drunk.
Yeah,
Sad.
I'm
you
still lucid.
you've drunk things that are, not to put too fine a point on it, far, far more powerful than this. And you're suddenly reminded of your, some of your, what's the word? Some of the potions and tinctures that you needed to drink in order to become a blood hunter.
As soon as I remember that, I just like make a face of disgust because those things fucking. Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Are you you sure?
Yeah, you know what happens when you remember something tasted before, and then you like, and it was so awful that when you remember it, the taste hits you back again. That's literally
Yeah.
what just happened to me.
What were you thinking of, if I may ask?
Drink.
Fair enough.
You are, at least you're a better fighter than you are a liar. I will say that.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
Yes.
I'm gonna start playing with my silver piece.
So, do you guys talk very much more, or is it just small talk like this for the rest of the journey? Basically, as long as you keep your voice down for Stuart not to hear you, you can talk about anything out here.
There is one thing, really quick thing. I will spend just a little bit of time making sure that I mark the people's names in my book that I have, as I need to make sure when I get back
Yep.
they are placed in the Book of the Dead. So I have spent time noting all of their names.
Yep, you note the names, you note the location where they died, and and the other kind of bits that you would normally need to put into the Book of the Dead.
Incinerated by.
Glory.
Oddly, something that isn't typically put into the Book of the Dead, because the names in the Book of the Dead, it's about them and not the people who interacted with them. It's the one part that's about them.
I think eventually it's gonna get to a point where like putting Glory's name is not even about who killed them; it's just the cause of death by Glory.
It's going to be a very interesting set of entrance by the fact that it's like, how did they die? Glory!
Yeah, a whole other meaning to a glorious death.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. So,
Just wait. I'll just get more powerful.
Oh no.
We're all gonna die.
okay. In that case, if you guys are just talking amongst yourselves for small talk, you get most of the way back. You're about 40 minutes outside of the city, and you're passing a small copse of trees. And there's this figure that's running on an intercept course from the copse to your carriage. The figure, when you start off, you think he's closer than he is, but as you get closer and closer and closer, you find yourself thinking, this guy's huge. He seems to be wearing some sort of dirty off-white top, effectively a jerkin, a short-sleeved jerkin, like a t-shirt, and he's wearing kind of threadbare brown trousers and has what seems to be a mixture of boots and foot wraps. You can't quite tell from this distance, but the thing that you can definitely figure as you're going along the road is this guy's huge. By the time he gets around about 200 foot away and closing fast, he seems to be roughly the size of an ogre. He has a large jowly face. He's got this pineapple top of hair. He seems to be, even from this distance, you can see he's quite filthy. He's moving in such a way that he's a bit of an, rather than being solid muscle, although there's clearly muscle there, there's quite a lot of fat as well. He's undulating as he's running towards you. And your first instinct is, are we being attacked in a carriage on foot? And then as you're there watching, it doesn't take an insight check to see that he is waving his hands in such a way that he's waving you down.
What?
Okay.
He's there.
Help!
Help! Help! Help! Help! Help! He stands at the side of the road.
Stop the carriage!
Are you sure? Stuart,
Stop it, damn it!
as you wish.
I'm already
he
out.
stops the
I'm out
horses.
before it even stops. As soon as it slows, I'm out the door.
Follow after. Farewell.
Okay. Standing in front of you as he runs up, he's like, help! Help! And then starts to hyperventilate a little bit as he kind of allows himself to rest for a second, and it all catches up with him. Standing in front of you, as I say, is around about 8.5 foot mass of what seems to be, you're not entirely sure. He has the skin and the facial features and all the rest of it of a human, but he has the
Size?
He has the size and, to a certain extent, the musculature, and what you've never seen an ogre, but what you'd guess would be the face of an ogre. He seems to have quite a naive look on his face. Again, you guys can do more insight checks in a minute after I finish the description. But he seems to have an air of naivete about him. And his nose is streaming with snot. So he's got rivulets of snot just going down his face. As he's been running, it's clear that he's been panting and frothing at the mouth. So he's got saliva kind of around his chin as well. It's kind of glistening there. And pooling a little bit around the neck of his top as well.
Yummy.
You.
Are you okay?
Help! Help!
Okay, stop.
What do you need help with?
Deep breath.
Sleep. And he points towards the cops. He's sleep. Help!
Okay, stop, friend. It's okay. Sit down. I want to help him. Try and help him sit down.
He goes,
Are you?
sit. And he sits down, and there's a little bit of a tremor under your feet when he sits down. He dumps down on the floor, looking dejected, looking very sad, and he starts looking at his hands.
Anyway, Simon,
Is there any? Sorry, go on, Clips. Go on.
I was just going to ask what you meant. Did you say cots or cops?
A copse, C-O-P-S-E. It means a small wood.
Okay.
Can we see anything if we look towards the wood?
The wood itself isn't too dense. It seems to have a certain amount of bramble coverage at kind of shoulder height. And then after that, it's a smattering of trees. It's nothing remarkable, really. You don't think it's no Sherwood forest. It's just where farmers have found it too difficult to uproot all the trees, and so they've kind of put the fields around it. The fields to the left and right of the copse don't seem to be used right now. You have a feeling it's probably used for grazing animals.
Okay, and we're not seeing any people or smoke or anything that he's like to know what he's indicating regarding the problem.
Give me a perception check.
Okay.
And can I give him a once over? Does he look like he's hurt, or is it more that this is shot?
I'm not even going to get you to roll. This kid is healthy as an ox. I use the word kid. He seems to have an immature naivety about him, which I'm embellishing on the more you stay around him. Kate.
11.
11. From this distance, you don't see any smoke. You don't see any signs of a campsite. And there aren't any trods either. So there's no trods going in and out of the copse. So it doesn't look like it's in regular use if it is a wayside camp.
What do you mean? What do you mean by?
Or you cut out there.
I think Corin froze.
So, yeah. What do you mean by sleep, friend?
I put my hand on her shoulder just as she says that and goes, "They're probably dead."
Sleep.
It's I turn back to
Do
it's
you
okay.
need to sleep?
No.
Someone else asleep.
The clip. Hold on.
Uh,
Hey, friend. Whoa.
I'll see what I'll see if I can check.
Yeah. Would you
Okay.
guys?
At this point, Glory comes out of the carriage because she hasn't bothered yet. Like, are you done yet?
Aiden, are you starting to walk towards the cop?
Yeah, I'm going towards the cops.
I'm kind of doing that too, but Cora's kind of a little torn about whether to stay near Farewell if he's not coming. So
I'll be there in a minute. Just let me tend to him, and then I will come and do my work.
Well, that's not going to be a problem because Aiden gets about 15 foot towards the cops, and the figure gets up and lumbers after him, kind of
Oh boy.
as insistent as you think he's capable of being.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's go.
We follow. I tell Glory to follow us as well.
If
Alrighty.
As he catches up with Aiden, he looks at Aiden and says, "I protect."
Sure thing, buddy. Okay.
And he stays one step ahead of you.
I want to be stood
Fine.
right next to him. I'm very close to him now. I'm seeing with it. It's that I've yeah. If anything, I want to try and beat him there.
Every time
Got,
you try to draw level with him, he steps one step further ahead, and he's got a large stride as well. After a while, you realise this guy, he doesn't care if he's just a couple of inches ahead of you, but he insists on being ahead of you. You follow him into the copse, and he just wades into these brambles, crushing them with his feet, waving them aside with his arms. The brambles just snap and scatter in front of him. He seems to have this easy, incredible strength. I mean, we are talking, to put it into game terms, you're there thinking this guy's got to be strength 20 easily, if not above.
Cora is following the footprints where it's all crushed, so she's going way through.
I can imagine Cora just hopping from footprint to footprint to stop her heels from her ankles from being scratched, and he takes you to a small clearing. I call it a clearing, but it looks like he cleared it. Almost a giant nest made in the middle of these brambles. And you immediately see why, Cora, you did not see a campsite before. This is a very small, very well secluded campsite. As I say, obviously cleared by the larger figure. And lying there in a bedroll is an elderly-looking priestess. You can see right from here that she's got the robes on. She's human, and Farewell, the second you see her, you go, she's got to be 85 if she's a day. You walk up, and she is cold to the touch.
Oh.
Ah.
Do I want to check if she has any vital. Like, can I feel her pulse, or is there just nothing?
When you go to reach for her hands are still inside the bedroll. She's kind of stiff. Kind of tells you everything you need to know about it. You can't even move her arm. When you go to move her arm and the whole of her body moves, this hand goes in front of you, this giant hand from the other figure. And he goes, "I protect!" And then he kneels down, puts, and with a gentility, giant hands, but with a gentility that is quite surprising from one so big. He runs his fingers, only two of them, through her hair, very, very gently, and goes, "Wake up!"
This is depressing. I say that out loud.
Hey, hold on. Leave it. Give me a moment, if I can.
I like that the guy
Yeah,
with
go
a
ahead.
charisma of 8 is gonna try to do a great bedside manner about this.
Yeah.
He has a background.
Yes,
Farewell,
he has a
Farewell has a background, so he gets pretty much any social role that he does in this scene, he gets advantage on.
Yeah.
Co-
No,
Coral-
I'm just saying that because I did play a Grave Cleric with low charisma, and trying to combine that with Grave Cleric Druids was interesting.
Nice.
Can I look around to see if it looks like they were kind of attacked or anything, or
Absolutely. Do an investigation check.
Can I
Actually,
do
can I-
some sort of medical?
Yeah,
check
can I
to see
do
if-
can I do Kate's first, and then I'll go to the rest of you. So what? An 8. Even though it's a low roll, I mean, you're kind of freaked out by what's going on, and also, I mean, Cora's a nice person. You know, she's got to be distracted by the heartache that's coming from this this poor creature. I'm going to use the word creature for now, because you haven't determined what the figure is. You just do a cursory search. You're distracted, but from what you can tell, there was no attack. You know, she looks old. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
so-
can we determine if she died of just old age?
The I would say, based on Farewell's knowledge, he knows that she died of old age. Whether you guys need to roll separately, I don't know. But I will say that it has been mentioned that she's dead out loud once. The larger figure doesn't seem to have understood.
Alright. I
Aiden.
say. No, I only wanted to see if I could make an investigation. With Cora, but that's okay. I just say yeah. I don't know what much we can do. She's like mega dead.
I need him.
I'm
Great bedside
glaring
manner.
at Aiden when he says that.
Yeah, let me make a roll.
Not.
That's so
Yeah,
bad.
I know. Glory's just leaning against a tree, playing with her nails. Like, this. Fine, do your
Simon,
thing.
just before you come out with that roll, would I be able to immediately know what type of death?
What type of death she had, yeah?
No, what god did she follow?
Oh, what god? Oh, yeah, the symbol on her clothes is clear to see. She was a follower of Pelor, and you do notice that embroidered on the front of her cassock, being that there are certain things that are standard amongst clerics, but they are allowed to wear certain garb that honours the god in whatever way they see fit. You can see the dual aspect of Pelor in Ilaria. So Pelor is a single god, but has a dual aspect. And he's known as the All-Father and the Ever-Child. Okay, in the All-Father represents as a benevolent, wise, old, typically male. But you have heard that around Illyria that changes. But especially in the mainland of Illyria, right in the middle, so we're talking Vardencore, Meridia, Celtalands, depicted as a wise and bearded, kindly looking gentleman who's wearing simple garb, commoner's garb, but still looks immaculate because God. The second aspect is the Everchild. The Everchild is never given a gender, and is a small child, again in commoner's garb. The child is typically seen as bald, and normally has golden eyes. Okay, and the skin tone of the child and of the Allfather tends to change depending on the artist as well. Typically ranges from olive skin to a light bronze. Never white and never fully black, but somewhere in between. Hello, Cactus. I've got the chat up so I can see people coming in. So yeah, you know that Pelor is generally represented as light and hope and wonder and hope for the future as well. So it is very much a specific future hope rather than present hope. Present hope is covered by Avandra. So it's hope for the long future, for the existence of civilization and good in the world. And that is represented by the Everchild as well, that is said to be constantly in awe of the creation that Pelor was part of making.
Okay. In that case, I want to put very slowly, very gently, my hand on his arm and just get enough of his attention that he looks. I want to see if I can just keep his attention for the moment.
Okay.
Friend, can you tell me your name? Can you tell me hers?
He kind of draws his finger and kind of points at his chest as if to say, "You want to know my name?"
Yes. I am Farewell.
Farewell.
Yeah.
I Crag.
It's nice. Good to meet you, Crag. And this? And I point towards the priest.
Mary.
Mary.
Mary asleep, not wake up.
Mary is gone. She has...
Gone sleep.
No, my friend. Mary has passed on into the realm of Pelor and the other gods.
Pelor loves us all.
That he does. But she has been embraced by Pelor, and her time with us has come to an end. And it is time for us to give her farewell and let her go.
He seems to be struggling understanding you, and he kind of waits for a second and then goes, Pelor loves all the children.
He does. And Pelor loves you.
Pelor loves me.
Mary.
Pelor loves Mary.
He does. And that is why Mary has come. And if you will let me, I would like to help Mary. Help her.
Help Mary. Help Mary asleep.
I will. But you must take a step back. Come sit over here. And I want to take him somewhere that's a bit comfortable, probably somewhere I imagine that looks like he was sitting whilst he was in the camp. Just try and make him comfortable.
Yeah, you can see this giant bedroll. There seems to be a kind of, it's not even a rucksack, it's a sack which has had string sung to it. That seems to be, and not just string, it's kind of hefty rope. That you have a feeling is how he carries his possessions around. When you point to the bedroll, he sits down, You have a feeling that this crag isn't necessarily mentally deficient or anything like that. He hasn't got any form of disability. You have a feeling he might be some sort of maybe mountain humanoid figure. You're going towards ogre, you're going towards whatever in your head. You're not entirely sure, but you're starting to get some idea of what was going on here. The priests and priestesses of Pelor, very much like those of the Raven Queen, see all life as sacred, see redemption as possible, whereas those who follow Cord and those who follow Evandra tend to be Arathis tend to be a little more select, as with Ioun. To connect with a figure such as this, who hasn't had the benefits of a society that has education, that has built up intelligence over the years, they see the same worth in this person as any other living being on Illyria. And you can absolutely believe that Mary would have taken Crag around, and yes, I'm sure that Crag protected her, but that wasn't the reason why she travelled with him. She travelled with him because she was the best person for him to be around. She would hold him in the regard that you would expect from any living being. And there's a moment, I'm sure, of respect that comes through to Farewell.
Yeah, I want to gather everybody around just a bit of distance away from him. Not so that it looks like we're trying to talk away from him, but somewhere respectful, probably near where Glory is. Just gather everybody. Our friend here, we're gonna have to explain to him that she's well. I think the closest approximation that he may have for her is the forever sleep. People isn't really. I can usually get through.
Do we know what he is? Like, he seemed a bit like a human, but more.
I don't think that's
but
so
also
important.
ogre-like. Maybe is a cross. Is that possible to have a human ogre cross?
No, anything's possible. I mean, not to be rude to our friend Aiden, but if it's humans are known for breeding with anything, and usually,
indeed,
you'll find out when you're older.
I'm like 20 something.
Forgive me. I was always taught that sometimes humor can lighten them.
You try.
I will tend to Mary, but if you could help me with him and help me explain, there is a process. He isn't stupid. He just doesn't comprehend the world as we do. And we must be careful not to anger them. I don't know, but I have a feeling. But if you want, 2 hands to dig a grave is always good.
I think before we start to move her, we need to make sure he understands what's happening.
I agree. I
So-
will prepare the body if you don't mind. There's
Oh,
a few
yeah,
private
this
things.
is on
that-
you, but before you start to move her, let's make sure he understands so he doesn't attack you.
I think he will let me touch her. I think he just thinks that I will cure her sleeping. And that is a little beyond me.
Okay, I'm gonna try and go and try to explain this. My approach is gonna be that she's gone forever sleep, be Pello.
I will come
I
and
think-
try and help.
I think that's very sensible. Thank you, Eclipse. I really appreciate it.
What's gonna happen to him afterwards?
That.
Maybe Renata wants.
What?
Sorry, Glory.
just let him wander. I mean,
No.
he'll probably figure out how to live. I mean, he must have survived before her.
Not necessarily.
Let's make sure he understands what's going on now, and then worry about the next step.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I will go and approach. What was his name? Did you say, Simon?
Crag.
Crag.
Yep.
Crag.
Mm.
I'm coming with Eclipse. I'm following Eclipse.
Okay. You walk up to him, and he sat there very obediently, staring into the middle distance, roughly in Mary's direction. But he seems to be processing something in his head. When you get to around within 5 foot of him, he looks at you two and goes, small kitty.
Yes, I'm a tabaxi. We are a race of cat-like humanoids. But you may call me. My name is Eclipse, but you may call me Kitty if you like.
Kitty's probably easier.
Kitty.
So, your friend, mother, friend, grandma.
Friend. And he gives you what is a slightly hesitant hug.
Okay.
Yes.
Friend.
Friend. Eleanor, is she your friend, mother, grandma?
Mary.
Mary.
Starts looking over your shoulder. Mary.
Crag.
Crag.
Is Mary your mother? Is Mary your mother or your grandma?
Mary friends. Mary friend Crag.
Okay. So your friend, she really likes Paylor, doesn't she?
Paylor loves all the children.
Yes. She's a child of Paylor.
Children.
So, children. And so Mary is really old. Do you know what old is, Crag?
Crag is Crag is 12 old. Crag is 12 old.
Yes. Crag is 12 old. Mary was very, very old. Much older than 12 old.
12?
A lot more than 12, Mary.
A lot old.
So, when people get really, really old, they go to sleep. Forever to be with Pelor. So when people are really, really old, they go to sleep to be with Pelor forever.
Sleep with Pelor.
Forever.
For
Long time.
Long. Yeah.
Really long time.
Like, she's not gonna wake up again.
She's with Pelor now and will stay with Pelor for very, very long time.
Okay, I think I've made you guys suffer enough. I'm going to give him an intelligence check.
I will say that well done, Corinne. Well done. That was really good. You really, really good. Well done. You took him down a good road. That was really well done.
It rolled off a natural 20 onto an 8. So he scored a 5, and he's staring at you as if he knows that there's something he should be getting right now, and he's good. I mean, bless him, he's good-natured. He knows that he doesn't know something. He knows he needs to be figuring something out, and he's there just looking at you, just rapt, absolutely rapt, kind of saying,
So
He knows it's important.
yeah. Have you had a pet, Crag? Have you had a pet?
He kind of looks really embarrassed.
Oh God, please don't think of the rabbits.
Have you had a pet, Crag?
No more pets.
No more pets. What happened with your first pet, Crag? Did you sit on it?
Crag, did your pet sleep long time?
Sleep. Pet sleep.
Well, Mary sleep.
Mary sleep long time.
And there's the 17. You kind of expect him, being that he shows a certain amount of and what you would consider to be an immature nature. You expect him to bawl, to cry, to protest, to stamp his feet. What happens instead is very slow, very serene. He stands up, walks up to Mary, kneels down by the side of her. He's at this point, farewell is kind of nearby. He's kneeling down. He's getting ready to start. He goes back to stroking her hair. And very calmly, very softly, he just goes, "Good night, Mary. Good night." And he stands up and walks over to the large bag that I described with the large ropes. He opens it up and he fishes around inside, and he kind of has a handful of small items, and he kind of looks through and picks one out. You can't see at the moment, it's kind of, his fingers are so large that they're kind of obscuring what seems to be quite a small object, but he's holding it very reverentially. He's being very careful. This is something that's important to him. And he puts the remaining items, and you can tell there's quite a few of them, they kind of clack together a little bit, back into his bag. He walks up to Mary once again, and he places the small object just on her chest. And he kneels down again and he says, "Dog goes woof." Strokes her hair one more time, stands up and walks back to his bedroll. He sits down as if an obedient child, does the bag back up. You notice that they've put some drawstrings on there so he doesn't have to tie a knot. And he kind of puts the bag on his knees, and then he just puts his arms around the bag, and he's again staring into the middle distance as if he's just waiting to be told what to do. I'm going to I was going to move on to farewell, is what I was about to say.
Yeah. I've got an idea for Crag. Would you like to help me say goodbye one more time?
Help, Crag, help. Crag can help.
Come help.
I come. And he puts the bag down, walks up to you very obediently.
Just for the benefit of the time, so what is going through the same routine that you probably would have seen, that just cleaning her up. I imagine in the time that Eclipse and Cora were talking to him, Aiden and I have been digging.
Yeah, I mean, you could have very happily had. I don't know. Happily is the right word, but you can get Aiden to.
Well, I would help. I think it would be the two of us would do it. It would be quicker.
Yeah, but my point is, you could get a start on digging a hole without distressing him. It's just digging a hole, after all. He wasn't going to know what it was going to be about. And yeah, you find yourself suddenly shadowed by this by Crag, and he seems very ready to help. Crag, help!
Yeah. So I will. Can I see where her holy symbol or divine focus is on her, like a necklace, or is it like mine, which is
hers is a variation of a rosary. It's around her left hand, which is currently firmly by her side, and she's gripping it. You have a feeling she probably gripped it when she was sleeping. Even just that knowledge that her God was there with her.
Yeah. Is it possible if I could very gently just try and remove it?
You know that that's probably going to be impossible without some very distasteful moves. However, whilst you're looking at it, you do notice that sticking out of the pocket of her cassock is a letter, and it is topped in quite large block capital handwriting saying, "Open in the event of my death."
Oh, shit.
Oh boy.
That sounds like an important detail we probably missed out on.
Oh, it's only now that you've gone down to her hands. She was in a bedroll, and it's only now that you've got to her hands, which you had to kind of roll down the bedroll in order to see them.
I will take the letter out. I'll pass it to one of the guys to read. I need to get to work.
I'll open it. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, do it. Rodrigo can do it.
Okay, Aiden, you open the letter, and a letter it is, and it's a letter to you. Not by name. Man, that would freak you out. I'll save that for another time.
Fuck you.
But yeah, it's a letter that says to whomsoever opens this letter, my name is Mary, and I have been a wandering cleric for the last 72 years. I have had the pleasure of meeting a great many people, both the people of what is known as the civilized world and also the people who live on the fringes of society, those who are scared, those who are misunderstood. My companion that I hope that you have met with fairness and good grace is Craig, Craig. He is the most gentle soul that I have ever met. When I met him for the first time, he was but a babe, and yet so large that I was unable to lift him. His parents had died in some form of war between his people. I call his people the mountain folk. They lived very meagerly, with dwellings little better than caves. But from what I can tell from the art and the dwellings that they have, they cared for each other, and so I cared for him. I spent 3 years in the mountains with Craig before continuing my journey from village to village with my new adopted, I guess we could call it son. I never thought I'd have one, along by my side. He learnt to defend me against the dangers that would come in the wild, but never to raise a hand against someone who would approach us fairly and without violence. He is a good boy. He's my boy. And I charge whoever receives this letter, whoever holds it, in the name of Pelor, to see my son safely to a temple of Pelor, or to somebody who would be able to care for him. Some authority that is good by the gods. Any of the gods of the dawn and their temples will have such folk who will be able to take him off your hands if you believe that you yourself are not up to this task.
I am super not up to this task.
Let's have a baby at 10.
Are you reading this out loud, by the way,
Yes.
Aiden? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It continues and says, so important is the welfare of my son that I apologize that as you read this, I have placed a Gaius upon you.
Damn, lady, didn't fuck around.
What is?
I'm
Can you
super.
just
Is it
remind
just
me what this
Aiden
is?
or like everybody?
He's been cursed. He's,
Cursed.
Yeah,
he's
you've been
he is
cursed.
obligated to undertake a final wish.
Right.
So, yeah,
You opened the letter, dude.
Cursed is probably a little harsh. He's been very, very heavily compelled to the point where he takes psychic damage if he doesn't follow what he's supposed to be doing.
No chance to resist that.
None whatsoever. This,
Would I notice that a Gaius has been put upon him?
Well, she read it out.
Well, no, it's more along the lines of there's a difference between someone saying I've done it and actually having one put on him, and I'm just wondering if I would notice.
well, you are a cleric, Farewell, which means that you know the ritual detect magic. You can take 10 minutes at some point here, and you can cast detect magic and see whether or not he has got a magical effect upon him.
I will do that.
Sure. Yes, this seems
And what I'll do is during those 10 minutes, what I will do is I will give my censer full of incense, and I will show Craig how to gently swing it over the body as I said, and just as part of the ritual, so that he can be involved. And then I will settle down and focus on the ritual and find out whether or not my friend has been compelled.
Quietly, I don't know. Do I know that I have a Gaius on me now?
you feel. Yeah, you feel oddly compelled, Aiden. It's not something that you're suddenly like, oh my god, I must do this. It's not a change of character. What it is just this feeling that you really better do this, otherwise something will happen.
You probably were a good person in life, but in death you were a fucking bitch.
So, the Gaius, Farewell, you do the detect magic. You detect that there is an enchantment upon him. You know it's a powerful enchantment, far more powerful than you're currently capable of generating. And you also know a little bit of lore, but I want to know exactly how much I can tell you. So can you please do a religion check?
Certainly.
DC's not high.
Okay. It's all right. Well, I rolled a... Where's my religion? So I rolled a natural 12 with plus 5 to 17.
Not bad at all. Yeah, I can give you quite a bit. So this is indeed a Gaius. You suddenly remembered, that there are things that you can do. There is a Gaius, a very special kind of Gaius that certain people can do. Even some people who haven't been able to create Gaiuses before, so hedge witches and things like that can do it. And that is a form of Gaius that works as a kind of last request upon the earth. Okay, so at the moment of your death, although a lot of people prepare it beforehand, because they know what they would want upon their death, they concentrate very heavily on it, and at the moment of their death, even if they die in this sleep, the soul, upon departing, sequesters this one wish upon the world. Okay, In this case, it takes the form of a gas. Yeah. Now, it isn't a level 9 wish spell that this thing does. It, you very much see a level 5 gas upon him. He is currently brimming with the School of Enchantment. But you know that if he refuses to do this, if he just tries to cast Crag, as he calls himself, or Craig, off and just walk away, he's going to hurt. He's going to hurt a lot.
Looks like you...
Because I'm going to need a fuckload of it.
Yep.
No, but I'm sure someone does. We will fix you in a moment. We will... By the way, does anybody have 25 gold's worth of powdered silver by any? Oh no, wait! I've got my divine focus, so I don't need anything that's consumed anymore. Is that right, Simon?
I think it's the 20. I think the 20. If you're doing protection from good and evil, which I spell very well, I've used it a lot in.
Well, I was actually going to ritual cast ceremony and then funeral rite.
Let me check. You should be okay, but I can check for you. So, according to UA, no, the 25 gold pieces worth of powdered silver is not consumed. Even though there is a value, it does not say the word consumed. So your your divine focus, your holy symbol, will take the place of it. It's only if it has a gold piece value and says the word consumed that you cannot use your holy symbol.
Okay. So just before, in effect, what I will be using is his sleeping bag as, in effect, a funeral wrappers, as I've used all my materials up on the last 3 cases. What I will do is I'll take his hand and I'll put it on one side of her face and I'll put mine on the other, and I will put the book above her head. And for the next hour and 10 minutes, so I'm completely out for all of that time, guys. You can do whatever you need to do. Yeah. I will get him to repeat the words after me whilst we go through the funeral rite ritual.
Sure. I'm going to fast forward it. The ritual, the ritual goes off very, very well. And part of the way through, you realize that this ceremony has done more than the usual. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to do it anyway. But it seems to really bring it home to Crag. As he's there repeating the words after you, he feels like he's doing something. And by the time you've finished, he does give you a kind of, as if to say, is that okay? Did I do well? Have we finished? And when you kind of confirm it, he kind of gives you what I guess for him would be a perfunctory nod, as if to say, yeah, we did this. And he takes a moment, but then after that walks away, packs up his bedroll, stuffs it in the sack, and is just standing there waiting to be told what to do. Now, it isn't that he's not mourning Mary. It's clear that he is. But he also knows that people telling him what to do is how he gets looked after. So he's kind of just waiting there.
Yeah. So I'll finish the last bit, bury her, do all the things, and then, sorry, guys, off you go.
No. I just wanted to say, so basically, Aiden and Farewell have adopted a giant now.
Yes.
I have
more or less willingly.
Giant now.
I think I've done it willingly. Aiden not so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will gently carry her. I'll be keeping an eye on him just in case that he wants to do the carrying bit. But otherwise, I will carry her into the grave that we've dug and begin very, very carefully filling it in. If anyone wants to help, it will speed things up.
I will whisper in your ear. We found the letter. Should we check there's nothing else important that we should find?
I'm going to go take a walk with him once we've done here and start. He's not going to fit in the carriage, so we're probably going to need to walk him back, and I'll start walking him back towards the city. There's a temple of Pelor in the city.
Yeah,
We're
Well,
going to take
maybe
him
he
there.
can just walk
and
alongside the carriage because he seems really big. If he
I
can-
will. I would prefer to walk with him. You
That's
guys can ride.
no choice but
No,
to walk.
what I'm trying to say is, before we bury her, should we check there's nothing important in... I'm not talking about looting her. You found a letter that was really important. Should we not check for other things?
Yes, we should.
Okay.
Sorry.
You go through her things.
As tactfully as possible.
Oh yeah. You see that there's clothes. There's a very small amount of money. There's about 4 or 5 silver. You have a look. The reason I say 4 or 5 silver, it's all in copper. There seems to be some sort of kind of traveling alms fund. Sometimes she'd give it out. Sometimes she'd accept donations or even ask for donations just to keep things going. But it seems by a humble amount that even the common folk in the countryside and the mountains would be, willing to part with that much money. A few coppers here, a few coppers there. There seems to be some rations. There's her personal effects. And then there's a book. You see by her letter that she is quite the scribe. She's got a beautiful copper plate handwriting, and there's a kind of a kind of scribe set that goes with it. And you can see that everything that she notes down is locations of villages, suspicions of the starts of diseases that could be communicable, suspicions about whether or not they will struggle during the winter, who can help, notes to herself. It's kind of a very functional diary, as opposed to a Dear Diary, today this happened. It's just a set of notes with regard to her travels. She notes down babies being born that she helps either as a midwife or coming into a village and finding out that they're newborn babies. She's used some of her divine magic to make sure that the baby has the best start in life. But then, of course, when she's gone to a town or a place where she can send resources, she sent resources back as well. Very much just a traveling carer, I guess. There's little more than that.
I was gonna say, Simon, she sounds like a witch from Terry Pratchett.
I wouldn't go that far, but there's certain similarities. Travelling around, just as Terry Pratchett would say, emptying what's full and filling what's empty. So yeah, there's a certain amount to that. You feel, Farewell, that this would probably be best sent to the nearest Church of Pelor for whoever would probably take over from what she does, or at least compel somebody to take up the mantle of what she once did. The rest of her possessions could probably be buried with her.
Cora, I'm sorry I was too mean. Can I take the book, please?
Yeah, no, I think this all should go to someone who does her stuff, or to him, to Craig.
Yeah. And I'll take the book, finish off what we need to do. And on the way back, as just before I clear, I tap Iden on the shoulder, and first round's on me. We'll get the gas lifted, and then we'll get you very, very drunk. Promise.
Fucking better.
Well, a way to get the gears lifted is just to fill the requirement, which isn't there a Church of Pelor in the city? So
Yes, there is.
That is why Eclipse, you are my favorite, because you always are 2 steps ahead of all of us.
Can we get going, please.
Someone's not liking their position in life right now.
I don't think Aiden ever likes his position in life.
I was gonna say.
And aren't you
So-
glad you didn't read the letter?
Yeah, I think it's actually perfect that he did.
Yeah. So,
I will.
if I assume we start going back, and I was gonna ask Simon if we should have a really short break.
I was going to suggest that very thing. So,
That is a good plan.
what I will say is, does anybody want to do anything else here? If not, we can just say that you clear up and you arrange to travel with Crag.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're making sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, we are making sure that all of her belongings that you, other than the ones we'll bury with her, are being collected up and given to Craig.
Sure.
Well, I'm gonna look after them because, while we travel, basically, because I'm not sure if he'll understand what. I don't know. I'll. Yeah. Does it look like he would understand what to do with stuff? Like, does he have his own coin pouch and things like that?
Well, if you gave this collection of coppers is in a kind of coin pouch that's in a kind of little arms box anyway. If you gave it to him, you're pretty sure that he would understand what it is.
Right. I didn't know because if he already had a coin pouch, it would mean that he understood money enough that she wouldn't deal with it all the time. So
you have a feeling that that's all the money they had.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I say.
I will.
let's
I
get
think.
going.
Yeah. Let's get home.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, we will have a short break. I need caffeine, and we will carry on
I need to go have a good cry. Fucking hell, Simon.
Simon, what the
You've
fuck?
got to cry on the stream. You're not to do that off stream. So hold it together.
No, hold
for
on.
at
My
least-
fragile male masculinity requires that I cry.
No.
The Victorian gentleman in me demands that I not only have a room for weeping, it is done away from people.
Possible.
I just cry. Fuck it.
Right. We'll be as quick as we can because we started so late. So we'll see you guys.
Yep, we will be very, very quick. Yeah. Okay. Right. See you guys soon.
I'm going to go cry now because of you.
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to the players. So,
Hello.
you guys get to the large gates of Ostergard, and you watch as the shanty town of Freetown passes you by. Now, Aiden, you have a gaze upon you. You have got some people that are willing to help and have been quite driven in helping. Farewell seems quite driven to help, but you are the one with the gas. You feel compelled to get on with this and just resolve it. And you've been promised as such. So, what would you like to do?
First of all, I say she didn't even have to fucking yes. Anyways, what's the nearest? I want the nearest fucking route to the Temple of Palor.
Sure. So the player's guide, of which I'm doing a viewer's guide as well, but the player's guide, if you have a look into that, the map of Ostergard, you'll see that close to Freetown, which is number 11 on your map, there is in the center of the map, number 12. Sorry, not the center. The top left is number 12, the Temple of Palor, and you notice it's one of the larger temples in Ostergard. All you have to do, you're currently, if you look at the number 11, you're on the road that's just above it to the north. All you have to do is come in, hang a left, go towards the Church of Palor, and this should be done.
Alright, so...
Cool.
I don't know if you've got a chance, Simon, to stick that map up onto the stream, but I'm sure...
That's what I was trying to do in the break and didn't manage to get round to.
That's
so,
okay, then.
yeah. I mean, I've got something that I can throw up in a minute, but yeah, I'm going to be putting the new map, the map that you can see in that guide, I'll be putting that up for next session, and I'll also be doing a link to a viewer's version of the guide where it has less of the background and less of the secrets. So, yeah. Okay.
So I say, okay, I look at Craig and be like, okay, you don't separate yourself from me. You stick to me until we get to the temple. Please, it's probably gonna hurt me a lot if you separate. Just stay with me.
Hurt? I protect! I protect! And he kind of puts his hand and slaps it on your shoulder and says, yeah.
Just careful, Aiden. Just careful. Words are
I understand.
literal.
Yeah,
Quite literal.
I got that.
Come on. We're not far. Let's go. If you,
Yes. By the way,
quicker you walk, the quicker he gets there.
Yeah, I'm starting to walk, and I'm saying this to myself, right? I say, why did you? Yeah, just kind of planning it anyways. What the fuck?
Okay. It doesn't take you long to get there. And the Church de Palor is this cathedral-like spire. You've seen it as you walked around the city. It peeks over the top of the other buildings. And it has this large crystal structure at the top, and you know full well that when the sunlight hits this, it bathes the vestibule inside with this beautiful spectral light. Standing outside, giving out alms to the poor, are a collection of Pelor priests. And as you get close to this, as you're walking towards this crowd, and at this point, I would like to point out, a lot of people have been looking at Crag and kind of pointing and not saying anything to him or anything within range of him, but kind of muttering to each other, going, "God, look at him," kind of thing. They have met many races here, so that there's not a huge amount of what you would consider to be prejudice against him, but he does look slightly ogreish. And he is bigger than most of the racers here. He's taller than most of the Goliaths here. So he definitely makes an impact. But you can see as they're walking up to the Pelor Temple, there's a look of recollection on his face, and he's kind of like, and starts walking a little bit faster towards the priests. He's going to do something if you don't. Are you going to do something, or are you just going to watch and see what he does?
I'm definitely keeping.
No, I'm running along.
Okay, so what are you doing, Aiden? Because you're right next to him.
I'm trying to keep up with, because I don't want them to think that I don't know what the deal. I'm just trying to try to clarify things as I can.
Sure. So he walks up. The crowd do part as he walks up, but the priest that he goes to first looks at him. You can tell that there was a moment of what the, and then just checks himself and says, "Hello, child." And he goes, "Alms for the poor." Reaches into his bag, pulls out the alms pot that he had, and opens up the bag of coppers and starts giving out coppers to the people around him. And they're kind of looking as if to say, can we have this? Is it okay for us to do this? And he said, "Alms for the poor! Pelor loves the children!"
It's okay, Craig, it's okay. Okay.
Pelor loves the children, and he's giving out every penny that was given to him.
I go up to the priest, and it's like, yeah, we're here to make this, deliver this boy here, hand him the letter. Yeah, his caretaker kind of, died.
Perhaps you could summon
Eloquent
Perhaps you could summon Sturgill Dawnrunner for us, and we can explain the situation in a bit more detail. My friend here is obligated to make sure a last will and testament is complete.
Of course, I'll get Archpriest Dawnrunner now. He kind of looks towards the church, points a finger, and says, "Sturgill, there's someone here to meet you." And you see as the message cantrip has just been used, and he kind of cocks his head as if he's listening to something. Says, Archcleric Dawnrunner will be, and you can tell he's kind of like, I came out here just to give some poor people money, and now I've got this giant, boy in front of me. You wait just for a few minutes, during which time you can see that that Crag kind of looks at his pot and goes, "Oh God!" And the Pelor priest that you've been speaking to, who hasn't identified himself, he's a little taken aback, just goes, "Would you like to give these out?" And he gives him again another bag of copper coins, and Crag goes immediately into the same routine. You have a feeling this is something that he did with Mary. He just goes, "Pelor loves the children, arms for poor, arms for poor," and he starts wandering through the crowd. And these people who previously looked at him with a certain amount of fear now are kind of walking up to him with no fear whatsoever, and they're saying, "Praise be to the All-Father, thank you." "Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you." And he starts thanking people as he's giving them money. And you notice that all of the fear of the unknown completely dissolves when they're suddenly united by the fact that he's doing this kind act, and clearly only interested in doing it well. you are kind of mesmerized by this scene. As I say, all the trepidation falling apart, and even those who aren't there to collect the alms are just stopping and watching as he's just giving. Nothing more, just giving. And there's this kind of clearing of a throat behind you, and you turn around, and there, a young figure, a tall, and you've been told this is an archcleric, this tall human. He must be around Aiden's age. He's got a mop of honey-coloured hair that that seems to just kind of fall about the place, and there's a bit of a crosswind in Ostergard today, and it just kind of moves a bit in the wind. He's tall, quite thin. The robes kind of hang off him in such a way that they move. He doesn't fill them out. And he says, "You called for me?"
Yeah.
I'm going to slap Aiden on the back, and I'm going to cast Bless on him.
Sure.
Oh shit.
And go,
Thank you.
be honest, be open, and this will be
Alright.
lifted. I
Alright,
promise you.
Okay. Thank you very well. Okay, here's the deal. We're here to deliver. I'm here technically to deliver this boy over to this church because his caretaker was a cleric of this church, and her dying wish was for him to be taken here, to be taken care of. I've said that word way too many times. And to ensure that this was done, I am kind of under a binding spell, if you will. So if you will please take the boy, that will be a huge relief for me.
He raises his hand and kind of just waves it over your forehead and says, "Yes, she compelled you to perform her last act on Earth. Quite an honor."
I'm going to just give Aiden a look of don't. Don't.
That's such an honor. Anyways, here's the letter specifying the details. Don't worry about the Gaius bit because I already took care of that. And yeah, if
Aiden is loving this.
and
He says, "Would you like to be absolved of this duty?"
please,
He reaches his hand out again, this time touching your forehead, and says, "Pelor the All-Father thanks you, as you have guarded this young soul, as he guards all young souls, and guards them against the evils of this world. I hereby absolve you of the last of Mary Anara."
Aiden is doing that thing where you know how you kind of like how you in RPGs you want to skip the dialogue and you're just mashing A. It's just like
X, 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 X. And you suddenly feel no longer compelled to do the things that you were previously compelled to do. It's been lifted from your shoulders, and in a way, you suddenly miss it. Only an inkling in the back of your mind that's a little bit kind of betrays what I'm sure your feelings are of relief. There's just a little mote of sadness that leaves your mind as this small divine duty was with you, albeit for probably, 40 minutes by horse. So you probably walk for about 2.5 hours, maybe kind of taking turns to be in the carriage if your feet are hurting. So, it's taken a few hours more than you intended to. But yeah, now it's come to an end. You carried a small amount of divinity with you during that time. Begone religion.
I say
The least
Thank you.
religious one in our group.
thank you. Anyways, I have to go get blackout drunk. I'll be right back. Yeah. Goodbye. I just go.
Okay.
I think we need to go report to Renata as our next step.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. What was the name of the tavern we're staying?
The Hawk and Harness.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go there right away. I'm figuring, hey, Renata wants to hear from me. Like, fuck it, she's gonna find me anyway, so she's gonna contact me through the symbol. So
Sure.
I just
Aiden
go.
needs to go get drunk before that to talk anyways.
There's just one small thing I want to do at the end once everybody's done their thing. So you
I
go through the
also
guys.
Go ahead.
I also
Come back.
still have the bag, so before we leave, I'm doing something. But
Okay. So that's it for them. I mean, it was just a simple handover. If you hadn't guessed, the scene I mostly wanted you for is the one that you've just done before the break. He walks up to Crag and says, I believe that your name is Craig. He goes, Crag, would you like to give out alms more often? Alms for the poor. Tomorrow, alms for the poor? Tomorrow? He goes, would you like some food, son? Crag, hungry. Crag, hungry, please. And he goes, come and have some food. And he extends what seems to be quite a soft, elegant hand compared to Crag's quite calloused mitts. And hand in hand, he walks Crag up the steps to this cathedral. If you would like to give anything over to the clerics and things, now is the time to do so. You can do so for Sturgill as well, but this is what's going to happen after you do that.
Sure. Do you want to go first, Kate?
well, I think I will kind of hold out the bag to you, Farewell, and be like, do you want to give this to them? This is all
Sure.
our stuff.
Yeah. Let's give it to it. They'll make sure it's used properly, and you never know. Someone might take up her mantle.
Yeah.
Breathe more good into the world.
Okay.
I won't lie. I'm a little proud of Iden.
By the way, I
He
actually
done good,
forgot
even
about
if he was forced to.
Actually, I wanna do something really quickly before I go get.
Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
Sure,
Snack.
go for it. Go for it.
Is there any like I'm seeing they're handing out money to the poor? Is there any way like I can add to the pot of what money they're handing out?
Yeah, if you wanted to give some money to the clerics, then absolutely you could.
Yeah, I just I'm gonna say 15 gold pieces. I just give them 15 gold pieces and
Never giving out copper pieces.
So yeah, you give it to the cleric, and the cleric goes, "We'll get this changed into more distributable denominations."
Sure.
Bless
sure,
you.
Yeah, I leave. I'm fucking gone.
You're just like, wait.
Iden is just so beautifully awkward. It's fantastic. You can tell that the cleric was trying to do some sort of blessing on him as he turns around and Mike drops his way out.
Brother,
Charisma, I love it.
brother, don't worry. I've got him. You know, for
Thank
someone
you.
that's quite so cantankerous, he really is a soft. And I'll go over to Dawn Runner, and I will go, High Priest. These are Mary's thing. Mary, as my colleague said, was his caretaker, his mother. In all honesty, she raised him since he was a small boy. I think as well you should read this book. And I hand him the book.
Yes, I can see. This is her notes of walking out into the wilds. It looks like the All-Father walked with her to keep her safe and to bring her such a joyous calling to be the parent of such a lovely soul. We shall make sure that she's honoured both in terms of this book and also in the child that she was able to walk with for some time.
I have one request, if I may.
Of course.
Teach him how to be a cleric. He helped me with the rite of funeral, and something tells me that it was a little bit more successful because of his help.
Of course.
There is something within him, and that should be known.
Those who follow the path of the gods do not need to be eloquent speakers. They don't need to be educated, though it does help us in some cases to be able to convince, to teach ourselves. To be a servant of the All-Father and the Ever-Child only requires the love and the dedication to do good, and we've seen already that he has that within him. I shall do what I can, and if it is both his will and Pelor's will, I will see to it that they have a chance to unite. But only the chance. Obviously, we'll not be forcing him into this. This is a path that he must choose to take. I think the first part is getting him to understand what that decision will entail.
Absolutely. And I will think you'll find a willing. Travel well. I have a friend to go get very.
It sounds like he needs time for a little succor, and to relax with a moderate amount of drink, I should imagine, would be useful after taking on the demands of parenthood so suddenly, it seems. This one isn't Sturgill, by the way. This is just one of the other almsmen, and there's a little bit of a wry smile as he's like, "No, I got this. I understand that Ian was out of his depth, and so he kind of gives you a little bit of a conspiratorial smile, and he says, "May the gods be with you,
and may the light of Pelor guide you."
Thank you. Unless the rest of you have anything, I would like to ask, out of Glory, Eclipse, Farewell, and Cora, are any of you wearing the green symbol?
Yes.
Oh, I said yeah.
I had.
When after we got into city, I think I would just fasten it somewhere because it's.
Yeah, because I know Aiden.
To wear it during the city.
Yeah, I know Aiden kept his in his pocket, but for the rest of you, were you if you were carrying the green symbol, it is noted. The priests do look at the symbol and kind of give you a nod as if to say, "We have seen you."
Oh.
Okay.
We did good things.
So, how many people here are saying that they have it on display, or would have had it on display, or would have hidden it? Because I think if Cora had seen that everybody else was hiding it, she would hide it.
I'm not hiding it. I have it out. Eclipse would have it out in the city because we kind of expected to wear it in the city, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glory, I need
Also,
to.
it kind of matches the rest of her outfit.
Okay, so that's a definite for Glory. Glory, I would like you specifically. I mean, the rest of you, you just got nods for the green symbol. Glory, I want you to specifically do an insight check.
Right?
Oh boy.
Oh,
I am scared, but right.
You can do it, Glory. We believe in you.
We believe in you.
I have plus in that. Yeah, that is a 19 plus 3, so a 22.
Wow.
It was this close to being a nat 1.
See, I told you we believed in you.
Okay. Glory,
Yes.
as you're at the steps to the Temple of Pelor, the brand of light, of goodness, of charity, of hope, here in Ostergard, corrupt Ostergard, there is one person who is acting differently from the others, and I don't mean the almsmen. I don't mean the alms receivers. I mean the almsmen themselves. The clerics are all very smiley, happy. They're saying, "Oh my word, that clearly a work of Pelor, that has happened here to bring this child safely to us, that we may care for them." They are in stark contrast to the paladin that is up and off to the left, who is looking at you with a look of intensity, not hatred, but intensity, and he is resting his hand on the hilt of his sword, but you got a 22, so you can tell that the knuckles are white. Okay?
Okay. I want to look at him and wink.
He glares at you, and I'm rolling for this. Oh, the lip goes. He didn't fail by much. He only failed by 2. So he looks at you, and his lip goes up for just the barest amount into a snarl, and then he goes back into this poker face again. Now, at this point, this is something that the viewers kind of need to know, and some of the players already know it. Glory, your patron from back home in Scoura, what's the patron god for your draconic patron?
We follow the goddess, the dragon goddess of greed, her lady worship and Tiamat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking hell.
Oh, yeah, Tiamat, that minor deity.
Yes.
Literally a
Not
religiously
at all.
insignificant deity. The queen of fucking dragons.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're pretty sure that the reason this guy is not snarling at you, not sneering at you, but trying to withhold all of the snarl, sneer, grimace, whatever you want to call it, is that he recognizes your family symbol, which is on your belt, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah. He recognizes...
As well as... Yeah. The cape is, fasteners are also the symbol.
Oh, yeah, they're 2 small fasteners, aren't they?
Yeah.
He recognizes that your family symbol is, for him, synonymous with worshippers of the great dragon queen herself. And he's kind of like, well, she came in with the others and they seem good, so I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt because that's what we do. And also, yes, that symbol, I see it as synonymous with the worship of Tiamat, but I don't see any Tiamat symbol on her person. You have a feeling that's probably the only reason he isn't arresting you right now.
I like this.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I don't see the problem.
He doesn't approach you, but if
No.
you wish, you can approach him.
No.
Says the
No.
DM with trepidation. Okay. Well, you note his face
Yeah.
because you have a feeling he's noted yours.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing else, you guys go about your business.
What are you staring at, Glory?
Oh. See that guy over there? Yeah, he hasn't been looking at me very pleasing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can we not melt this? I'm very tired.
It's fine. Come on, let's go get drunk.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've dug enough today. My shoulder hurts like you would not.
Yes.
You step away from the Temple of Pelor, the Cathedral of Pelor, which is now the home of your new friend Crag, and start walking into the city proper. And it seems strange that you've gone out, you've done these things, You've gone out on a mission. You've found this kind-hearted creature and brought him back to safety, or at least to those who keep him safe. And the city just carries on around you, this 24/7 machine of people and processes. And you yourselves, who once worked so hard day to day, are just standing there watching the world go by. That you've done your job. You've got a home to go back to. You, presumably, because you've just completed a mission, will be paid for this. And you've got the day to yourselves. Seems almost unfair. I mean, okay, Zev and his family could have killed you, but it just seems that you haven't really had to earn your keep. However, you haven't completed your mission yet, and Eclipse herself has to go off and meet someone. So what are you going to do?
What time is it again, sorry?
Let's see. You took 3 hours to get there. The whole thing with Zev took about 15 minutes. Then you travelled around about 2 hours, 20 minutes back. And then it was a few hours walking back on foot with Crag. So, yeah, it's coming towards around about 4 p.m.
Okay, so not
We should
majorly
probably
early, but yeah.
Perhaps
we
we
should
should
go and go and report to Renata what we've done. Find Aiden, drag him with us. Go report.
Well, Aiden has walked off in a random direction. You have, well, I say random direction. He's walked towards the centre of the city. You know that much. If you want, you can try.
He said he was going to go to the Hawk and Harness. So.
If he said that, then yeah, sure, you can meet him there. Okay, so
I don't know if I said that, but that's what I out of character said what I was going.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
you said that.
Either way, we assume he's gone there because that means he's drinking beer for free.
Yeah. He'd
I'll accept
probably
that.
go to the freebie.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we know he's cheap, so that's definitely.
No, I'll accept that. Yes, I think it would be an educated guess that you could go to the Hawk and Harness. It's taken you the time of a conversation, so I'm going to say, Aiden, by the time they catch up with you, you've managed to get most of the way through your first quite substantial drink.
I have another bottle of wine. I didn't even order beer. I just ordered an entire bottle.
Sure, you've got the good stuff as well, not this, not what would be considered a working wine. You've got a kind of drink this before you go to bed wine.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm like, that same silver piece I keep playing with. I'm like you know how people spin coins on top of tables?
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
like absent-mindedly doing that.
Sure.
When they find me.
Noki walks up to you and gives you a fresh glass, takes the other one away. Oh, well, it's a fresh goblet, actually, because this is... you have glasses in your rooms, but there are goblets in the main thing, and he says, "Is everything okay, Master Aiden?"
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Is everything here to your liking? You seem you don't seem as pleased as one might expect to be from having such opulent surroundings as we provide.
You know, I'll be honest with you. This is maybe a little secret between you. But no, fuck it. Tell anyone if you want. I actually really don't like how alcohol tastes. I think it tastes like fucking garbage. Never liked it when I had to drink it back home, but traditions and all that crap.
I have to say I've had to learn how to enjoy the taste of this.
Yeah, and I never did.
There is, on the Summer Isles, fantastic blends of fruit juices that we can have that are only semi-fermented, just enough to get rid of the bugs inside, you understand. And, yeah, the is divine, with only just the barest hint of alcohol. Here they have I don't know. It seems to be that you taste the alcohol first and then the flavors second. I don't see how that works, but of course, again, you can tell anybody. But I'd prefer it to be a secret. A barman who is not exactly the most favorable towards alcohol is probably a misnomer. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I don't even.
You seem to be a little, I don't know, conflicted. I'm not reading your mind. It's just obviously I'm more sensitive, as all Kalashtar are to moods. Are you?
I really appreciate having my not being read or getting controlled of, like I learned earlier today, and I take a big swig.
He looks at you and goes, "Somebody controlled your mind."
Yeah, you can say that.
He goes, he reaches his hand out and says, "If you wish, I can make sure that no one is currently controlling you."
No, I know no one's controlling me. It wasn't direct control, like puppet master type, like shenanigans. It was just, hey, I want you to do this thing, and if you don't do this thing, you're gonna be in a lot of pain.
It sounds daunting. I'm sorry that you ended up in that situation, but you are specialists after all. You are meant to go into places where I guess there are danger. That's why you get the treatment that you get. However, the offer stands. My kind are capable of removing mind-altering effects. If you ever feel like you might be under one, try to come here and just come up and say the words "help me" to me. And if if it's no clear help that you need, like a wound or something like that, I will perform this ability. I don't need to go into your mind for it. It's called the Bastion of Mental Clarity. Is the direct translation. It sounds more elegant in Kalashti, if you don't mind me saying so. But it is something that we can very happily do. And I'll make sure that if anybody is currently controlling you in this way, I will sever the connection.
I'm trying to bear that in mind.
Of course, just the least I can do. Your success here is effectively connected with me. I mean, I have to keep this place profitable, yes, but my main success for my role here will be keeping you safe and keeping you happy. In that, I am happy to help with you and want any feedback that we can provide. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Of course. I'll leave you to your ways. Nobody wants a barman sat or stood, as I am, whilst you're enjoying your drink, or not enjoying your drink, but making quite the effort for it. Anyway, if you need any more, then you know you have only to ask. He walks away, and as he walks away from this conversation, all the others bustle in.
Before they get to me, because I don't notice that. I just, as I'm spinning the coin, I offhandedly say, "What would you guys think of?" I say that right before they get to me.
Sure.
What did you say?
Do we hear it?
Yeah, so you cut out at the end. So.
Oh yeah, I say, "What would you guys think?"
He said, "What would you guys think of me?"
Yeah. Do we hear it?
No, he said it before you arrived. So, you guys, using your educated guess, you get there and kind of spinning a coin, and with a freshly filled goblet in his offhand is Aiden, just drinking in the common room, and there are people around him. It's about, as I say, it's about 4 p.m., so it's between meals, but there's just a few people here kind of doing small business deals and things like that. There's a general collection of people.
Okay, so I think I said first round's on me. So, what are we drinking?
Do we want to drink or go to see Renata first? then we can relax afterwards. and-
Yes,
Yes.
I do
Guys,
think
go here now.
reporting in first would be our priority.
If
Well,
you guys don't
much
mind,
as
I'd
I'd
rather
love a
stay here
drink.
for a bit.
I would point out that Eclipse used it earlier that we can just call them. And I take out from my bag the symbol. We don't have to go in person.
That's true.
She might want
I
to-
mean, this is her place. We can hand over the hammer to, and I can't remember his bloody name. You've just said it and it's gone out of my head. But I point to the bar guy and go, I'm pretty sure of everybody here, we're going to have to give it to him anyway. And he'll make sure it gets to the right place.
Well, we can call Renata or Olivia on the thing and ask if they want us to come in and report directly to them, or if they want us to just.
Let's just call
whatever.
Olivia. She has a way of appearing. Maybe she'll
Yeah.
just come and collect it.
That's a good thing. But anyway, drinks, come on. First round's on me.
Okay. I want one.
Well, you guys are getting drinks. I'll call Olivia and.
But it's like Farewell's doing that bit where he's like really trying to sort of lift the mood a little bit. So he's like, "What do you want to drink? What do you want to drink?" So he's going around to each, and
Yep.
he'll get the drink.
Fucking no, I just said wine and that's what I had.
Sure. Okay. So, Eclipse, you reach out to Olivia, and Olivia says, "My, that was fast. We were
What's it?
with the last person we sent out on things like this. They felt the need to do what was called a stakeout. But no, you say you have the hammer. I will be along to the Hawk and Harness directly."
All right. We'll see you very soon then.
Okay. You guys managed to get your drinks. You're sat around, and around probably about 15 minutes later, she walks in. Olivia, Renata Green's right-hand man, wearing her usual kind of piper's jacket, so double button down the front, piping on the shoulders and on the buttoning, kind of military trousers and tall riding boots, bleach white hair, very pale skin, only just darker than her skin, her lips, and she walks up, extending her kind of quite gaunt frame and saying, "I believe the hammer. One of you has it."
I hand the hammer to her. As we also got the hat. I say as I turn, like I just rapidly switch between like different people I've seen that day. Like I start looking like all the members of the party in turn, and then
She inspects the hammer. She says, "It is indeed enchanted. Perfect. Thank you very much. I was coming this direction anyway. I have a fitting that I need to go to." She places the hammer in a bag. The bag suddenly goes whoop and seems empty again. Another bag of holding, and she says, "No, I'm very impressed. Oh, the hat of disguise. Enjoy it amongst yourselves. I'm sure it'll come in useful."
I'm still rapidly switching between like looking at the party members.
Yeah, she
enjoying it immensely.
she gives a thin smile that is quite devoid of mirth. And
I am purring the entire time, by the way, while I'm switching.
It must be weird, like seeing someone look like Aiden and purring.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it suits him.
she locks onto Aiden, seeing that he's in his cups, and says, "Master," and the letter K comes out of her mouth, and then she kind of backs up and says, "Aiden, will you do a lady a favour?"
Depends on the favor.
Will you escort me to my fitting?
Do I have to?
You still have guidance. I've maintained concentration.
Thank you.
Go for it, stud.
Wasn't it blessing?
No, it was guidance.
That is his blessing.
Bless will come when he's made the deal.
Fuck it, sure. I just
Go
down,
get the
down
hot
a
girl,
goblet.
Raiden.
Go.
Go get her.
Go.
She says
I am literally ignoring them.
she's acting as if they don't exist. And
I'm sandbagging them.
as you stand up and walk towards her, she goes, "Good man." And as she does so, she kind of taps your shoulder in what seems to be like a reassuring way. But the second that she taps your shoulder, I would say the euphoria of the drink doesn't leave you, but some of the nausea does. And she says, let's take a walk.
Sure, go ahead.
Once she gets into the crowd and you kind of fall in step walking through the city, she takes a moment to take a look around, and you know that anybody who's been in large crowds like this knows that this is the case, that as long as nobody's kind of keeping step with you, nobody ever hears much of your conversation or enough of your conversation to determine what you're actually talking about. She's kind of using crowd white noise to be able to speak to you. And she says, I know a little of your background, not as much as Renata, but enough to be able to do my job. And you have my condolences. From what it sounds, your family had a sense of responsibility, of duty. I respect that. Why I'm here, why I work for Ms. Green, is very much what you had automatically from your family, a sense of purpose, camaraderie, the resources and like-minded individuals to be able to make a difference. Now, in the case of your family, it was to dispense with certain aberrations of the world, to set to rest that which was restless, I suppose. But for me, I was born first into privilege and then into strife. And in neither case did I have at the same time both the knowledge of how to apply myself to the world to make that difference, and then later on to have the means. First I had the means but not the knowledge. Then I had the knowledge but not the means. And it's only now under Renata that I'm able to have both, and the training to be able to enact that change. I keep control of everything, and for that I make no apology. And there's a certain extent to which I want control over you. Well, not you personally, but you all, just to make sure that you fulfill the promise of the investment that we have in you. Tell me, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that.
I know what you are. I know there's more than one way to get there. I assume from your skin that some form of alchemic method was used.
I don't know. It's been so long, and the only thing I remember that it did bowl. Everything after that is blank.
Of course, and please, if I overstep my bounds, if I ask something that I should not be asking, you can, of course, end the conversation any time you like. I want to be able to trust you, all of you. And I think there's no insult in the fact that even though we are now colleagues, I have yet to assess you all to the point where I trust you. I think, again, it's not unreasonable for me to say that seeing her methods, Glory will be assessed by me for some time yet to come.
She could be so lucky.
Fair.
Eclipse has a method. She gets the contract, she fulfills the contract, she gets paid. That's a stability that I can understand, but Glory almost does it out of what? Pleasure? Pride? What's her drive? She left a family of great power, position of great privilege, to come here and do what? Melt bandits? I must admit, I feel that I will probably end up trusting you all in degrees. I don't trust you. You don't trust me. And that's fine. That's how it is to be. But I do understand what you've gone through and what you risked to get it. And that says something to me. That's something I can work with, a basis that I must admit it intrigues me. And if you and I get to know each other a little better, I will impart information for you, and being that I intend for it to be a two-way street, I will provide information in return, provided that we both are satisfied with that kind of arrangement. Do you see that as a potential colleague interaction? And she's struggling for words at that point.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Are you intending... You want me to... I have a few goblets of wine in me, so I'm... Clearly, but... What you asking me right now is to spy on my colleagues?
No, I'm sorry, I'm doing this all backwards. I am interested in the Blood Hunters. I have some knowledge of them, and I have some knowledge of... I will be coy about this. You're seeking answers, something to do with your family. I don't know the fullest amount, but I may know some information that, though it doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, may make a huge amount of sense to you. But I don't know if I can trust you yet, because in order to give you this information that you would be able to use, I also have to give you information about myself.
Okay, frankly, I also don't trust you, and if you want to know about Blood Hunters, here's what you know. Blood Hunters are people who go to extremes to eradicate a certain problem. People don't like how Blood Hunters appear. A lot of people are scared by them, to the point that certain families of them go up in flames. That's enough. That is all that I can say on the matter.
I thank you for the encyclopedia review of Blood Hunters, but I'm saying that when I give you cause to trust me, I will hopefully be able to ask more, to find out more about you. Until then, I think I can give you a piece of information to, I guess, whet your appetite. Oh, here we are. This is the place. And she kind of beckons you inside what seems to be a kind of combination seamstress, tailor, and dressmaker. She walks in such a way that brooks no debate as to whether or not you're following her. Still carrying on the conversation, she walks you upstairs. The shop is above a number of other shops, being they don't need to have much in the way of the windows. The top windows, which are the main windows for this shop, do have dresses and things like that in there. Some of them are well-to-do stuff. And you both walk into this huge haberdashery type place. Beautiful materials are rolled up in bolts that are then put up on the wall. Others have a certain amount of the cloth just draping off the side of the bolt to show how it flows. And a gnome walks up and says, "Olivia, darling, you're here. You'll be so pleased. Please, please come this way. Oh, and you brought a gentleman friend. Please come this way. Come this way." He kind of grabs hold of your hand, Aiden, and starts pulling you towards a kind of chaise longue. It's a powder pink chaise longue with painted wood legs that have got a kind of a rose gold feel. And the legs themselves sweep and bow. Everything here is supposed to be of the utmost taste, but you kind of see it as a little gaudy, Aiden. Everything is about look at our range, and as a result, it's all a bit mismatched. But you can tell that Olivia is quite enjoying it, and he goes, "Well, this way, this way." The chaise longue and the what seems to be a few meters away from it, a screen, so a multi-panel screen, is in a kind of alcove, and he pulls a curtain across so that it is just you, her, and as I say, the chaise longue and the panels.
Go for the kill! Go for the kill!
She steps behind the panels and she carries on talking. And as she does so, it's clear that she's going to change some things. And she says, "I have somewhat of a history with your family's intended quarry. My family were killed by what was considered by the cult who was in our lands, the greater undead. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I know what effect it had on me." And at this point, a woman walks in, and she's carrying a mannequin, which has some clothes on it, but instead of the mannequin wearing the clothes, it's kind of draped over the mannequin. And she carries on talking and says, "As a result, I have somewhat of a vendetta against the undead and necromancers in particular. I confess to you that Renata will not put me on the trail of a necromancer or anyone who courts with undead or necromancy in general, because I can get emotionally involved. I can get, well, yeah, go for it."
At this stage, like the rest of us that's probably in the pub, we're probably like 20 drinks in, and just it's all going crazy. We're dancing.
Yeah.
I will say that. I will say. Yeah, exactly. But I will say that Farewell will definitely have like gotten out of his armor and just into something far more relaxing.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
shit's
the
heavy.
clips may be not having the clothes on at all because it doesn't matter because he's a cat.
I will be asking Cora if there is an appropriate place that I'm allowed to look, because never met a tabaxi before. Where am I supposed to look?
All I can think of is little Cora swinging around the chandelier going, "I fit on it! Look, I told you I fit on it!" And back to Aiden. So
Step is a wonderful thing.
The question is, how many girls have Glory flirted with so far?
All of them.
Yes.
I don't, have you flirted with Eclipse and cry yet.
I was going to say, it's probably that Glory's on her second lap. Aiden, what was your insight?
16.
16. As far as you can tell, she's telling the truth. Yes, she's hiding a lot, a hell of a lot. And she says, so, yes, I mean, I confess, a little enraged when I found out that some of our cobble dogs had died. But they patrol the streets. That's the danger that they're in. But I can be sidetracked to the point of vendetta and distraction, and I guess the first part of trusting you is to admit that is one of my flaws. And after all, we're only human, aren't we? And at that point, she steps out from behind the screen, and yes, your first reaction is, this is a test. This is a fucking test. Because she is stark bollock naked. She walks very calmly.
Actually, when she walks out butt fuck it, Aiden's reaction is none.
Okay, good. She walks up
You should roll for that.
well,
Yeah, I agree.
no.
Roll it.
Hang on.
19
I would like to point out a couple of things. So first of all, in Illyria, they don't have much of a puritanical past. So things like attitudes towards nudity and things like that are more relaxed and practicable. It's like bodies are bodies are bodies. And also with different races and things like that as well, it makes it easier as well as in different fantasy races. Saying that, people don't just get their kit off willy-nilly. So there's a certain amount of inappropriateness because she is, effectively your boss. Not your ultimate boss. Your ultimate boss is Renata, but she is your boss. She walks.
She's like middle manager.
Yeah, your middle manager is stark
It's
as.
a Christmas party gone wrong.
And I don't.
I've been to a few of those.
And I'd like to point out that this, I don't want to sensationalize this because this happens in seconds. Yeah, we're talking like one combat round tops, where she walks up, picks up the clothes from the mannequin, and then walks calmly back behind the modesty screen. Yeah. Now, as I say, the first reaction is, this is a test. This is a fucking test. She's spent all this time being nice to me. She's been there saying, I want you to trust me. And then she's gone and pulled the fucking freak out on me. She's trying to, mess with my brain. This is what they do. There's lots of these kind of typical Aiden paranoia stuff. And yeah, you're right to kind of go poker faced on this. You're like, fuck you. I am not going to be beaten by this situation. I'm going to, I'm going to rock this. And as you do that, you realize this might be a test in more ways than one. In the middle of Olivia's chest, where her sternum bone is quite clearly a weapon wound. A long time healed, ragged scar that seems to be made by, you're guessing, some sort of thin-bladed weapon. Maybe some of the larger swords, maybe not a great sword, but maybe kind of something that's around a long sword or a falchion. It is a stab wound. It is not a slash wound, where something has clearly been thrust into her chest.
Do I think it's of the steak variety?
You're not quite sure, but surrounding that wound is, again, on her chest, burnt on her chest, so there's this rippling burn scar tissue, again, long healed over, is a perfect handprint. Okay? And I hold up my correct hand. I was about to say my right hand. Is actually my left hand. It's a left-handed burn mark. and it perfectly outlines that hand. Okay? You're not sure whether these scars are just coincidental, or that was the test. So was the nudity was the test? Was the scars that she's shown you the test? Which was it? When you look at it, the questions that these very strange scars seem to bring up, it almost puts the nudity into the background. Suddenly, that's no longer a thing anymore. And you just find that as she's getting dressed into whatever she's getting dressed into, you find yourself dwelling more on the scars. Almost like they should be triggering memories or posing questions. As
they are, by the way, they sure are.
Yeah, as these are being posed to you, she steps out and she's wearing what seems to be a courtier's costume instead of the kind of a double-button, double-breasted piper's jacket that she normally wears, which seems to be her kind of uniform. She's wearing what seems to be a scarlet courtier's top that has a bit of flow to it, kind of crosses over almost toga style, and then has a sash that kind of follows one of the folds of the toga. Then it stops neatly at the belt, and a second sash goes across her belt, and then it goes into what seems to be kind of like short pantaloons that stop at the knees. And then after that it goes into a kind of charcoal type that then goes into courtier slippers. It looks a little bit ridiculous to you because this is not a practical wear, but you have seen people wear it when they've been going to royal court. Normally you've seen somebody wearing something like this as they step out of a carriage and then into someplace. This is not a costume by which someone just walks around in the street. She comes out and she stands in front of a full-length mirror, and she's kind of tugging at it and all the rest of it. She goes, "I think they've put too much scarlet in it. That's the problem with pale skin, isn't it? The only thing that looks good on you is darker colours."
Is there any reflection in the mirror?
Yes, she is reflecting in the mirror, and she's kind of talking to you through the mirror. She's looking into the mirror and seeing you on the other side. And she goes, "That's the problem with pale skin, isn't it, Aiden? Because she's paler than you, but you have got pale skin. Not only dark colours really work. Dark greens, dark blues, black, of course. What I wouldn't give to be able to wear red again and for it to not cloud. Look at that. I look like a decoration."
Wearing red again. Again.
Sorry, Simon, just to point out,
Yeah.
we're just past 11.
Yep, it is. So
That's quite a clip.
No, I don't actually want you to end. I want you to continue on. This is fucking fascinating.
So she talks about there's a good squealing sound.
I think it's coming from you.
Cool.
Yeah,
Sorry, hold on.
We're getting some feedback from one of the mics.
Yeah.
There we go. So for the rest of the scene between you and her, Aiden, she largely talks about clothes until you find a suitable juncture to be able to leave. And you walk out into the street with quite a few things to process. But just before you leave, she walks up and says, "Thank you for being a gentleman." And you don't know whether it's your behaviour when she stepped out from behind the screen, escorting her to her appointment, agreeing to be reasonable over this exchange of information, or whatever.
Not
But
going, what the fuck is that scar?
Yep. She thanks you for being a gentleman, and she goes up, and before you get a chance to really react, she goes up and gives you what's considered to be just an etiquette kiss on the cheek. She's ice fucking cold.
Ah.
Ah.
Well, with that information, I just start walking back to the tavern quietly, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? That. Internal
Okay.
screaming.
I'm going to leave with a prompt for next week because that's easy to pick up on, and that is that the drink is flowing in the hawk and harness. You've got, from what we've been told, a tabaxi sans clothes. You've got.
I probably, if there's a fireplace by now, I have just curled up in front of the fire and I'm asleep.
I have hopefully got myself up to my room, preferably with a girl.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. No, I can work with this. So Eclipse is curled up in front of the fire. Farewell has let his hair down, and as he says, he's taken the chainmail off because who the hell drinks the chainmail? And I'm sure he's animatedly talking to Cora. Glory, you do the rounds of the tavern. As I say, you've done a couple of laps.
Yeah.
And you don't know whether it's just the fact that, you maybe still smell a little bit of battle. You did dry roast a woman not 10 foot away from you. The smell tends to linger. But you're striking out, and you're like, oh, come on, and you're striking out really bad. At which point a quite attractive looking woman suddenly starts to respond to your flirting. And you've had a few drinks now. And you don't notice that you're being lazy with your flirting. You're kind of, this is very lazy versus it's kind of the hey baby finger guns, yeah, you like it, yeah,
Nice.
kind of thing. Yeah, and when you suddenly just kind of go, hey, this is working really well, and you ask her up to your room, she gives what you're guessing is a coy nod, but you can't quite remember when you think of this in future. You can't quite remember if it was you leading her upstairs or her leading you.
Okay. Fair enough.
You get to to your room. You close the door, and knowing Glory's or what should we call it, for emotive displays, you go to pounce on her, and you're a little rebuffed when you hit what seems to be a force wall, poof, and slide off it.
Everybody roll initiative.
We're not there.
You are the seagull that just flew into the skyscraper's window, and you're kind of like, is this foreplay? Is this foreplay? What kind of thing? And she looks down at you and she says, Ms. Tezcacota, we would like to speak with you.
Oh.
Oh, fucking hell.
Do
Don't
not
even get drunk without anything bad happening.
It's
do not worry.
funny how a lot of
She says,
No,
do not.
seriously.
Yeah, she says.
That's her reaction. Like, I'm
Hang
not
on.
getting laid tonight.
She says, do not worry. I have not been sent by your family or any of your rivals. We would like to, and she pulls a card out of her wrist, out of a cuff, and she says, we would like to invite you to a small private soiree She hands you the card. It has an address on it to somewhere in the city, and it's signed at the bottom, and the signature is the Consortium.
Ooh.
Okay.
Sorry, I know what this is.
Yeah, so please be quiet, because this is Glory's thing. I don't normally ask people to be quiet, but yes, you know from another game who the Consortium are.
Eclipse doesn't know. Eclipse doesn't know.
Yeah, so, Glory, you kind of, the card kind of drops in your lap as you're standing up, and you grab it, and you're kind of like, I don't get it. We doing this kind of thing. And she tips you a wink and kind of purses her lips into a kind of almost a little bit of a blowing you a kiss kind of thing. She opens your door and then leaves.
As she's walking back down the stairs, I'll go, fucking hell, that's quick.
This is to the woman, yeah? Fair one?
Yeah.
Okay, the woman comes up and purrs in your ear and says, quick but effective, darling. And then sweeps out of the door before any chance of reply.
I think I'm going to like this place.
Oh, I love farewell.
We're having another drink?
Yeah, I'm slapping them down on the table.
Alright.
I don't know if Glory's going to come back down, whether she comes back down to a cheer or what, but...
It will be a very respectful round of applause.
Okay. Now, before we leave, because it is nearly quarter past, I've allowed a little bit of extra content. Thankfully, we managed to get through most of what I wanted as well, so thank you for making this flow so well. I feel like I owe something to poor, dejected Glory. So I'm going to say that, bolstered by the need to restore her reputation, I would like Glory to make. It's not a charisma check with advantage. It's 2 charisma checks with proficiency.
Wait, so just a charisma and then add proficiency, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's slap an extra +2 on top.
That's a nat 20 and a 19
God.
plus 2.
Fuck you.
She's the killer queen!
A very, Glory is out for blood now. It's a case of, no, I have a reputation to uphold. Someone here is going to get laid, and I'm the other one. You watch as Glory pulls on the charm. She is purring in people's ears. She is moving like silk blowing in the wind past, at this point, you've been drinking long enough that it's got to like the dinner crowd, yeah? So people are coming in exhausted from their work, and they're coming in just to get a meal, and then they can go home to bed, and yet, amongst all these, these exhausted, hard-working folk, Glory manages to find what for her, the way she's acting, a real hottie. And you do not see Glory for the rest of the night. She goes upstairs. You do not see her again.
We think that's her second, too.
Yeah.
At this point,
I'm just tired watching her.
I am totally pigging out on food, too. We haven't eaten all day. So.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. I'm just sat there thinking.
What I'm trying to say, Rodrigo can't really hear you much.
sorry. I feel by that point I'm already there. I sit down. I ask, "Hey, what are those noises coming from upstairs?"
Oh, I don't think we want to know.
As soon as someone says "Glory," I say, "Okay, I don't want."
Do you ever get the feeling that perhaps we're not trying hard enough?
I really don't want to try at all.
I just get this feeling that there's too much work. Another round?
Don't worry,
Another
Farewell. If you want a bit of the action, I'm sure Glory could help you. She'll find your mojo.
I have
And scene.
I have a feeling that is more terrifying than anything we've been through all day.
Well,
I'll drink to that.
Scene.
And I think that's end scene. Thank you very much. First of all, to the players, you guys are fantastic players. For the viewers that don't know, obviously, Corinne and I have played in games before. She's in the home game here in Oxfordshire, and Glory I've played a short shot with before, a one shot actually before. And that was actually a New Year's Eve game. But Rodrigo, Nick, and Kate, we all came together, and I just said, I'm doing a stream game. Who wants to join in? And we basically just looked through a bunch of character bios and said, okay, who would work? Who would work? And
I brought Rodrigo in because me and Rodrigo.
Yes, but we still looked through his character bio and went, yeah, that's cool. So. And it's been an absolute delight going through this with you guys now. Obviously, I've been behind the DM screen 20 years now, and previously there are scenes that we did today that I would not have done back then, certainly because I wasn't that confident at storytelling, but also I wouldn't have done with other groups now. There are some groups where I wouldn't be able to do the crag scene because I don't think it would have been done with respect. I wouldn't have been able to have done the Olivia Storm scene because when you bring a certain amount of inappropriateness into a scene, you have to, yes, you can have a bit of fun with it and stuff. I mean, and people in the chat did, but without it becoming exploitative and a bit slimy. You know what I mean? And I feel confident being able to do these scenes with all of you. So that's really a testament to you guys as players, as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome, man. Thank you for DMing, dude.
Thank you everybody who was watching. I was going to say thank you, Rattles, for watching. I've been a fan of you for a very, very long time, so it's very nice to see you watching.
Rattle, you've definitely gained some fans here. Looking at that alternative art for Eclipse, I'm actually going to bring it back up again now because it's actually on a thing. Ooh.
Fantastic.
That is, he says, messing that part up. It's fantastic, and it's great to be able to enjoy something like that when it's being created. So there we go. Put up his hand again. And thank you to Skynet.
Go commission him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, go and commission him, and in the fullness of time, I'm hoping to have a commission from him as well. I give a lot of the stuff out with regard to DMing because I haven't got the hugest amount of money. I've got families to support, but he's
got kids.
Kids, man, kids. But when I can, I try to support artists by doing commission. By getting commissions and then signal boosting the hell out of them, because when I find an artist that I like, I tend to crow about them quite a lot to as many people as will listen without getting pissed off. But there are other people here as well that I'm going to go through quickly. Skynet, it's great to see you again and see some of your comments. Cactus, who was in here before, if you're watching this as VOD, great to see you again. And Rowan, Leanne, as always, fantastic to see you. And
regular viewer who we love. Thank you,
Rowan. And anybody else who's not a bot.
We love the bots too.
We love the bots too.
We do love the bots.
The bots keep me company. It's a thing, yeah. And we've got some people who I haven't seen before, so I'm going to try not to butcher the names. So you've got Sentient Arclight. We've got Commander Root, hello, another bot, to my knowledge, and Slowcool, who I think isn't a bot. I think they've commented in here before. And we've got VNK and Virgo Pros. Virgo Pros might be a bot, but VNK I think is a human. So, human Tabaxi, we're not sure, but I don't know. Again, thank you for sharing our table with us and enjoying the chaos. And I promise you a lot more chaos to come. And you're just starting to see.
Should we raid another D&D stream?
You're gonna reveal my noobishness. I've been part of many raids as a viewer. How do we raid someone, Kate?
/raid gap the name of the
Okay, I'm gonna quickly look at. I think the RPG Lab tend to do stuff after us. So let me just have a quick look on Discord. Not Discord. Discord.
They are not live.
They are not live. Okay,
There's
Kate, do you have a recommendation, or shall I just look up?
I don't know.
D&D?
It's sometimes nice to raid a small stream, but you also I don't know if how good they I don't know. The Encounter Roleplay are one above us on the thing. They've got a decent amount of viewers and seem to do stuff all the time. We could raid them.
Okay,
or we could pick a really tiny stream and raid them. I don't know.
Okay, so let's.
Last War only have 4 viewers. We could go raid them.
What was that? Sorry, what was the last one you just said?
Osmills, Embers of the Last War.
Okay, let me.
I have no idea. I've never watched them, so I couldn't say if they're good or not. But fun to throw people somewhere else and see if they like.
Yeah, just catapult people.
Yeah, basically, thanks for watching us. Go watch these guys. If you like them, follow them.
Okay, so Encounter Roleplay, you said, yeah? Well, we...
oh, what?
Did you say Encounter Roleplay, or...
There's Encounter Roleplay, there's Osmills. Basically, just click on the Dungeons & Dragons category below us, and you can...
Oh, there we go. Osmills. Okay, yeah, let's go raid them.
By the way, guys, Rattles just told us that we have to send character reference to him, so he can probably make icons for all of us by next week.
What?
That would be awesome. Thank you.
That would be pretty amazing. Christmas special. It's our last session next week, isn't it? Or is it for next? I mean,
at least
we don't know actually.
Yeah, it's so we'll be back the week of the. What was it? Is Monday the 2nd or 3rd? I'll put a thing up. And tweet it out
we're
as well.
on next week, but then there might be a break for a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
Thank you, everyone.
Kind of follow. So
live on the 20th, not on the 27th, and then the next Thursday is the 3rd of January.
Cool.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to attempt this raid. When we go in there, if we put in, if you just type in "We are chaotic" as the raid phrase.
We are chaotic.
We are chaotic.
Well, I'm
yeah.
gonna have to go pretty much as soon as we stop because.
But yeah, raid and then leave because it's bedtime for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Turn
Okay.
into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Okay. So Osmills, all one word. And let's hope I don't screw this up. I'm just waiting for the ad to finish on my personal account, which is @KaskanIobi, which is how you find me on Twitter as well. So there we go, and let's do this. Raid Osmills.
Right, and then once all the people are there, you have to click go. I think.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yep, and 9 viewers, let's raid.
Go!
Yay!
Woo!
Oh, bye guys. Because I said
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Ow.
Whew. Kick.
Are we offline?
We will be in just a sec.
They've just finished their stream just as we read.
Oh my god.